Welcome to Top M&A Entrepreneurs. Today, my guest is Henry, a friend of mine, fellow veteran that just acquired a middle market company. So welcome to the show, Henry.
Hey, thank you, John. I'm happy to be here.
So when did you close? When was the date?
We closed on May 30th, 2024. Yeah, just a few weeks ago.
May 30th, 2024. And what was that business? What kind of business was it?
So we acquired a medical company. They offer personal injury care, medical consults, chiropractic, and advanced imaging.
Yeah. Now, this is the business that you passed to me like last year looking for funding on this. That's the same business, right?
Correct. The same one.
How big was that? What was the size of that?
By size, you mean, I guess, the valuation?
Yeah, the valuation. Yeah.
It was $26 million.
26 million. So you're definitely in the mid-market range and you had to raise some money. So let's kind of just talk about the process here. Let's give a little background about who you are first, because you are definitely qualified to purchase this, but tell me a little bit about Henry. Where's his background?
Well, I guess born and raised in Puerto Rico. I joined the U.S. Army back in 2001 as an artillery. After that, I was a Dallas police officer in Texas from 2007 to 2014. Then I went to chiropractic school in Georgia, Life University. Graduated in 2018 and started working. But I found, M&A, and now we're here.
Yeah. And you kind of teamed with your dad on this too, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. In 2020, we founded Vinci Holdings LLC with my father as a partnership, because as you could tell from my background, I don't have any corporate experience. I don't know the lingo. My father worked over 30 years in corporate America, from laboratories back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, AT&T and Telefónica de España. So he's well-versed, in business. So I needed help. So my father's here.
And he was in management in those, or was he just...
Yeah, I mean, you could say my father started as a technician. He was manufacturing $1 million computers back in the 80s. Then from there, he jumped into management in AT&T and Telefónica España. He was more of I would say, a statistician and taking care of international relations. Pretty much that.
How did that conversation go when you came to him and said, hey, Dad, do you want to go buy a company, a $26 million company?
Well, I didn't start with that number, but yeah, I mean, a lot of fear, you could say, and it's like, Henry, we don't have that money. One, and two, you're crazy. But yeah, but three, I love to work with you. That's pretty much. He's like, let's figure it out, and that's something, as you can tell, I was away for a while, and I kind of like needed my father in my life, so
yeah,
bringing him in, it was more of a on purpose venture, if you will.
Yeah. Can I ask you about that? Because the father-son relationship sometimes is, we could either install the buttons, or, we don't really very clear to our son, because you're still trying to grow the younger one. Is he clear about the instructions? Like, hey, this is your weakness. You need to get better at that, or what is that, the dynamics of the relationship?
Well, I mean, sometimes it's hard, right? Because sometimes you're leading and you have your father, telling you things, or and setting boundaries, I guess, is hard. But at the end of the day, I know that he has the best of interests, for the company and myself.
Yeah.
So,
and you guys basically just talk about this like all day long, right? Dinner table, whatever, and you're just talking about business.
Yes. Yeah, we started that in, I want to say, I traveled to London in January 2020, pre-COVID, with him for an M&A seminar with Dan Peña. And then from there on, it was nonstop, pretty much every day, doing the search, setting up the company, and things like that.
So you started the search back in 2020. Did you focus on SMBs, or what? How did you decide on your buy box? What your criteria was?
Well, I guess before, I mean, I've heard of Dan Peña a while back, but before going, in-person seminar with him, I was looking more on the, the loans. How do you call these loans? I forgot now. The small business loans.
Yeah.
size. I was looking at those, but then he was like, you're wrong if you're looking at those companies. You need to look for higher than $5 million in EBITDA. That way, people with money will really look at you and fund you,
Yeah.
and have less problems. Smaller companies, less problem. More problems than vice versa.
I agree with him there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, did you take his advice of Dan Pena's always say, hey, go form your board of advisors first before you do that? Did you do that?
Yes, that was really really hard, because I message, if I remember correctly, I tallied it up. I had over 4,500 messages on LinkedIn. That's counting text messages, emails, and phone calls. I got cussed out. I hung up the phone. I was told I was never going to succeed. All kinds of different things. And little by little, I started picking people, and they trusted me, trusted my father and our vision, and they joined the board. The board has changed. It's not that it was, it's the same people now.
Yeah.
We still have some of the same from the beginning. But that was a very grueling process to get people to trust you. Coming as an independent sponsor with, little to no funds, if you will, to acquire a large company.
Right. I mean,
Mhm.
where did you start? I mean, where were you? I mean, any funds at all, or you just say, I got 500,000 or 100,000 or zero? What was it?
No.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we had, I would say, a little less than 200,
Mm-hmm.
but that was not enough, to acquire such a big
Not
company.
enough to acquire $26 million.
Yeah.
Ultimately, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
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 And so you got this board, you forming it. Now you start your search. What did that look? And you and I have been talking for 2 years, so
Mhm.
I know you were looking for a business for a long time, for like 2 years
Yeah.
almost. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like Dan Peña says, perspective, so put the board first, put the website, make it look good and whatnot. And we did that, and started searching. And, not just I, we talked to over 100 different companies in different sizes and different areas of the US, even one international. A lot of learning, on how to talk to these people, what to request, how to digest the data, how to move on to the next one until we encountered this company in particular that we acquired.
Yeah. And how did you look at the deal flow? I mean, who helped you say, hey, that's a good deal, bad deal, that can be financed, that's not? Yeah.
I mean, on that, I will digest it first and at least get the first set of data, such as you know, the revenue, the EBITDA, and if it wasn't matching to what we wanted, I'll just, throw it away. But once we move forward with an LOI, or at least a phone call with the owner, I will probably let Mark Monroy, our CFO, digest the data, in detail, and my father and even Tony, another board member, to digest the data and tell us, hey, let's go for a next call, let's put an offer, and so on.
Yeah. Yeah. And how many offers did you put out there? LOIs?
I would say out of the 100, we probably dropped 25. Yeah,
25. And
25, 30.
so we're 25, 24 all rejected, or they take a different offer, or did
I
it?
would say some. I don't remember the numbers, but some rejected, and some of them we walked away once we learned a little deeper of the
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
And this one was, where was it? Where did you find it? Was it an off market deal or was it an on market deal?
Home market deal. Can I say the name of the broker?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Happy. Yeah.
yeah. I was First Choice Business Brokers here out of Vegas. Linda
Look,
Nyman.
first choice, I had to interrupt you on this. The first choice
Mhm.
is, I have two other
Mhm.
clients, students right now looking at first choice businesses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they were top notch. I will say Linda and Jeff, they're a married couple. They were phenomenal at hand holding the sellers, also bringing us in. Like making us a couple, if you will.
Yeah.
That really really worked.
And that was, you found this business. It's basically in line with your background, right? And your
Mhm.
dad's background
Well,
and
mine, yeah, mine,
yours anyway.
yeah, yeah.
And then you place an offer on it. Was it asking price or above or below it?
It was above, and the decision to go above was because the board. I mean, we were told, right, and again, this business, they probably had another offer, and I believe they did. So we went a little over. They were asking 25, we went 26.
Uh-huh.
It was fundable, so we went with that offer.
So the cash flow from the business could handle the $26 million. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And let me kind of make a distinction here. You're in mid market now, so are you buying the stock of the company versus the assets of the company?
Well, the assets.
The assets. Oh, you still bought the assets. Did the working capital come with it, or did you have to negotiate that, or how?
We negotiated. I want to say 250,000 of working capital to be
Uh
left
huh.
into the accounts. Uh-huh.
And how did you find that? Just like you just per spend per day, and how the money comes in, and
We I mean, through it took a long time, John. Like, it took 21 months to close this deal. So
21 months to close
yeah,
the deal.
it was grueling,
Yeah.
to say the least. So we learned a lot about the company through diligence and the waiting period to finish this, and that was the max they were willing to leave behind. We were asking for 5, so they left 250. That's enough to cover, I would say, 75% of a month, expenses. But we came in, we were funded in a way that we had, I want to say, almost $1.5 million in excess after the initial equity that we paid for. So we're strong on that side.
All right. So, was there any sticking points to this other than working capital that didn't kind of jive? Like you're negotiating this and they didn't want that, something different?
Well, I mean, initially they wanted 18.2 million at closing, and
That's a
do
lot of cash. Yeah, to get
that's a lot of
closing.
cash, and do the rest as a seller's note. And we negotiated vice versa. We've pretty much flipped it. We paid 7.5 at closing. We're doing 10.2 at in seller note, and the rest is of equity. They retain 30, but we settled to buy that extra 30% in year 3, at whatever valuation we have at that point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you signed that LOI, did you already have the capital resources in place? People behind you saying, "Yeah, we'll fund you on these deals."
I had I would say a soft yes, but it was from from a banker, I guess, out of Dallas. And the thing is, he was not well versed, and his investors were not well versed in personal injury. Which, John, if there's anybody out there looking to buy personal injury, just send it my way. We'll do it. It took 21 months because it's personal injury. If this
Yeah.
was regular, major med, gastro, or whatever else, whatever specialty, we could have funded this, in months versus 21 months. But yeah, I did not have the full backing, if you will.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that look to the sellers when you signed the LOI? Did you have any sense that like we're gonna have to keep extending the LOI or?
Nobody knew. I didn't know. I
Yeah.
learned that post LOI that these people were not going to move forward. But what saved us, I would say, was that the CPA of the sellers was ill, and she failed to produce documents in a timely manner, which the QFE took, I want to say, a good like 10 months to be produced, because our accountants
10
couldn't
months
get
to
it.
produce the financials.
Yeah, because she was pretty much dying with cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry to
So
hear
yeah,
that.
it was uncomfortable for everybody, and everybody was praying for her. But that's why it took so long on that side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now were you working like in a W-2 or your own business during this 21 months? Like where did the revenue come to pay your bills? Like yeah.
Yeah, I was working as I was practicing chiropractic in DFW in Dallas, Dallas Fort Worth. And I had my own little business, and trying to make it. I had enough money, to get by every month, and divided my time, to board meetings and whatnot, and working. But yeah, that's pretty much
Yeah.
how I did it.
So where did you ultimately look? And I'll let the audience know this, but when Henry pinged me, he goes, hey, look, I need a little help raising some capital to close. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it was too short for me. I couldn't do it and reach out
Yeah.
and say it's too short. But where did you ultimately find the money to raise it?
So that's a I cannot disclose a lot of information. I
Yeah,
would
just
like
keep the
to.
names.
Yeah.
Keep the
Pretty much we had a backer, an initial backer that was partnering with a big hedge fund, and they backed out. And the thing is, they wasted close to $200,000 of our money. And we,
where did they spend your money? I mean,
in their own due diligence, they had to do legal, an audit, and things of of that nature, personal background checks.
this is
So
I want to bring a point because you sent me a quality of earnings. Did you pay for that? Was that the quality of earnings that you paid for?
that's what we pay for. Yeah.
Yeah. So when he sent me the deal, he had a quality of earnings report. It was just a stellar looking, very profitable business. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So after we lost that money, I had to raise. We got married with another partner, if you will, and we had to raise, I want to say, 35,000. And I found that money from the board. I found the money from friends of family, and even our banker invested money because they know the potential. So they were like, well, we went in.
What was your you and your dad's like? Did you just keep focusing forward, or was there times and periods where you go like, oh my god, we should give up on this, it's too hard, or what?
Me and my father never stopped pushing, but the sellers wanted to walk away many times. And I understand the standpoint. It was just really hard for them, I guess. Also the waiting period. But yeah, we kept pushing.
Yeah. And why did the sellers want to sell?
Retirement. So one of them is older, and the young one, he didn't really want to retire, but he just didn't want to get in debt to acquire the other 50%. So he said, well, I'm just going to get out and do my own thing after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other ventures.
And what's your role and your father's role when you're taking over the company?
So I am acting as CEO right now. My father is not in a, I guess, W2 position. He's only at the board level at the NewCo.
But he's part owner of the business, though.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And how much of the business do you own?
So it's a great question. So we came out, I want to say, at 42%.
Yeah.
Right now, remember they're keeping 30, and the rest is shared between some shareholders. That's the way it came out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But once we acquired the 30, mine's going to increase as well. So it's not terrible.
So let's go back to the finding. You finally found somebody to support you with the financing. I mean, what kind of process was that? You got a great deck, you got a quality of earnings, and how many pitches did you have to do? How many people did you reach out to?
I mean, bankers and brokers, I guess. I would say like 15. Everybody wanted money, but they couldn't.
Money up front?
Money up front.
Yeah, okay.
We finally found one in New York. So Boston, I think. It's Boston. CFC, Commercial Financial Consulting. Is the name. And they really told us, hey, we can find this money. And within 30 days, it was evident they couldn't find it. But we already paid, a substantial amount for them to find it. But they say, hey, don't despair. Just give me a few days. And after like 2 weeks, they found this other person that when he finally got on the phone with us, he's like, Henry, there's 4 people in the world that will fund this deal in personal injury. I know all 4. Give me a few days.
Do you think that was true, or you just think he was blowing sunshine?
No, it was true. In 2 weeks, he came back with a soft yes with the initial partner, and they engaged immediately, to do their diligence, their audit, their legal side and their backgrounds. Then they pulled out, and he's like, Henry, the second person is coming, and they're gonna do it. So that's how it happened. But yeah, everybody else that I talked to, the thing is, in personal injury, even our first accountants, they screwed the QV royally because nobody understands that in this business, it's not net 15, it's not net 30, it's not net 60. It's net whenever you get paid.
So tell me a little bit about the personal injury. So, and that's in the chiropractic world.
Medical chiro imaging, it's all the same because we see a patient, but we're not. He or she is not paying us. who's paying us is the attorney, which, if you go even further, is the car insurance company from the party that injured our patient.
Yeah.
So, we see the
And
patient.
usually there's a lawsuit involved
Correct.
before everybody gets paid, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. In this company, our average, I want to say, is 930 days for us to get the money after we finish care. But because the pipe is full of patients, we're seeing 200 to 300 new patients a month right now. We plan to increase that fairly soon. It's been full for so long that every month, you get hundreds of thousands of dollars every month from checks from all of those cases.
Yeah. Now, is it lumpy or is it pretty consistent? Or
It's cyclical, but now because if you and I open an office right now, at the beginning it's going to be really, really bumpy. But once you have X amount of patients in the pipeline, that's, you finish care, it's just a matter of waiting. You just keep seeing patients, putting more patients in the pipeline, and that's it.
Yeah. And how do you do that? Is it advertising or is it having conversations with attorneys?
It's a little bit of everything. You have to get your name out there, advertising and relationships. You have to maintain relationships. But the best way to do that, other than if you're doing a handshake deal, is to always be on time with the soap notes, the billing. Some doctors take months to supply the notes to the attorney, and then that slows down the process. They don't like that, of course.
Yeah.
It's just being on top of things, and good diagnosis, good notes.
So there's no net. There's whenever they pay. Like how do you know that if a lawsuit doesn't come through?
Well, that's a good question.
Do you just write off a lot of work?
Yeah, because the thing is, a lot of people lie at the beginning. They go to the lawyer, say, hey, I got hit, but they were the party that caused the accident. So, we have to write those off in the first few weeks, maybe a month of care, because they lied, but what can you do? You just go to the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have enough customers in the pipeline to not, you can account for that. That's okay. We'll write it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you feel through this process? Like you were okay with, hey, if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to doing chiropractic work in Dallas or what was it?
Well, I guess, I moved to Vegas in January 25th this year, 24.
Yeah.
I was hoping to close in February. And, by May, I still didn't know if it was going to close. A lot of things happened through, the process. And I burned the ships, It was, I closed, or I'm going to move to Russia or Argentina. I don't know. I'm going to go somewhere and start again. It was very emotional for everybody. Mostly for me, I was also by myself. Definitely very rewarding, I would say. It's not an experience that for the faint of heart,
Yeah, no.
You just have to be ready for whatever comes out of it,
Yeah. And are you married? Kids?
No, luckily.
No. Do you think that was probably a benefit that you didn't put your wife through that or whatever?
That can go both ways, right? Like, I don't have any support,
Yeah.
But at the same time, nobody's suffering with me. So, you're saying, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy.
And you'd have these conversations with your dad, like, "Oh my God, is this?"
Oh yeah, definitely.
And what was your dad? What kind of like wisdom and advice did your dad give you to keep the faith?
Just be patient. The chips are gonna fall where they're gonna fall. My dad is he thinks like an engineer, if you will, like a statistician. Very methodical. So taking that into account, it's just whatever's going to happen is going to happen, if you will, and praying, a lot of praying.
Yeah. So you are now CEO and own 42% of a $26 million valuation company, which makes you gone from, well, I don't know what your net worth was before to now like $10 million. How does that feel?
It's unreal. Yeah, I will say that's the only way I can express how that feels. Yeah, it's unreal. That comes with bigger problems too, but also bigger rewards. But I'm confident we're gonna get this this company in the next few years I will say we can easily exit in 200 million if we put our our pants up, and buckle up in the next 5 years.
So what does that look like? Are you just trying to cruise business there, or are you going to go out and find other personal injuries in specific?
We are already doing that. Looking at different targets in the same realm. I also want to look at suppliers, to bolt onto this company, supplements, DME companies, manufacturer companies, for example, of TENS units. I'm looking at a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So ultimately, let's say by next year, I may divorce the company as a CEO and go back into Vinci Holdings, so I can keep putting my efforts into the growth.
And you would hire somebody to run the business?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Maybe year or two of ownership. It depends on how fast we can buy another one. But we have a few in our sites. We're about to write LOIs. Yeah. So.
And this guy that said there's only 4 people can do this, and I know them, is he backing you for all these new acquisitions?
I brought him in the company.
He's in the company.
Yeah, I brought him
Fantastic.
in. Yeah, he's the chief strategy officer. He's became I would say, like my big brother. He's a little older than me. He's been CEO of public companies and private companies in the healthcare field. So he knows everybody in the major med side. He's worked in PI before, buying paper for surgery. So he's well renowned.
There's a little bit of alignment there. How did he offer that, or did you offer that to him?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of both, and also from Mark and even my father, because also they saw the value that he was bringing into the transaction. And we look among ourselves in the board. It's like, hey, we don't have that. We need, he's not part of Vinci, but he's part of the new co, if you will.
Yeah. So I got to kind of ask you, what was the weirdest or something like you unexpected part of this process that you weren't you weren't even thinking about prepared for? Because I would say if like you do about 100 deals, you're always prepared for the unexpected. But this first big one,
Yeah.
what was that? Yeah.
So I mean, several things. One of them, having them pull out of the deal when we were about to close in weeks, because the thing is they had other companies that were going bankrupt, so they couldn't fund this one.
So what was happening there? Some buyers were trying to buy it, and they didn't have the money, or what was it?
That's one of the things, but that's something I cannot fully tell you.
Sure.
Yeah. That one, and I will say, post closing fires. I wasn't ready for a lot of fires. Yeah, but I can disclose everything post the call. I will tell everybody to be prepared for for the unexpected. It's just you never know what's going to happen. Find a good attorney, and I use Ferguson Braswell out of Dallas. They've been,
and let me ask you about this attorney. They were well versed and skilled at M&A transactions, right?
Oh yeah, it's a full they have a full suite of attorneys. They're national. I mean, they're not that big, but maybe like 200 some attorneys, I would say. But they've been very good. And what distinguishes that firm from others is that for you to get hired as an attorney there, you have to be a business owner. They don't hire non-business owner attorneys to be,
you have to have some other side business running a business. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting requirement.
Yeah. And but they've been very, very good to us. They took most of the money post-closing too. So that was special, for us to find that.
Yeah.
Their deposit wasn't a lot. I mean, it was quite a bit, but it wasn't that much. Yeah.
Yeah. And your accountant or your M&A attorney, was this the same guy as running the business in the business, or is there two different? So there's the M&A attorney that evaluates the deal. Can it handle the cash flow, handle the debt that's we're going to put on it? And then there's the accountant inside after the business post closing.
So so they had an M&A guy and they had a finance attorney, in the deal. And we used Baker Tilly on the QV of things. QV.
Yeah, Baker Tilly. Yes, that's a top 5 guy. Yeah. Q&A guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we use. But yeah, Ferguson it's been great. Justin is the name of my attorney, Justin Shelton. He's been really, really good.
Yeah.
And we engaged him to be corporate counsel post closing. So.
Oh, very good. So post closing, was there anything about what you are experiencing now, the hiccups, the little fires, that you probably would have seen forehand if you have a little more experience doing it?
I would say nobody was ready for it. Yeah,
Nobody was ready for it.
no,
Yeah.
no, not even my attorney or Andy or even Mark. We were not expecting a lot of the things that we're facing, but yeah, it's gonna work for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the reason like your dad, he's been in large companies. He knows
Hmm.
process, and some of the big companies he worked at was great processes, like
Hmm.
or EOS or something like that. So, you, did you not see that, or did you not ask the questions? I'm just curious, like, or some new event came up and changed the kind of dynamics of the
I will say new events. Yeah.
new events.
Hmm.
Interesting,
Yeah.
like uh, big events like the U.S. government changes the way lawsuits are done, or what was
Oh
it?
no, just I will say zero transition period. That defines what I'm really
Yeah,
trying to say here. In regular M&A, I will say some folks will give you a month, 6 months. You don't really want more than that, right? Because you want the old CEO to go away, so the people can see you as the new CEO. But this was a 0-day transitional period. And hey, here's the keys to the offices. Like, good luck. And
and
kind of
then they took off. Did they stay with the business for a little bit,
they,
or
they they're in a capacity of they're close a phone call away, but that's it. Yeah.
and that's both owners? One said it. One
Yeah.
was retirement. The other one was not retirement age. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
I mean, they're great folks, but it was, I'm here by myself, and now I'm handling this business that I really don't know a lot about. I mean, I know the business, right, in general, but this particular business, yeah, it was different. Um, to just go
And what are
there.
you going to do to kind of surround yourself with people that, I mean, you with
Mhm.
your attorneys, your accountants, that capital raise guys now in the business, and your dad? Do you feel
Yeah.
comfortable running the business with all these
Oh, yeah, 100%.
advisors? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the business was running by itself with the I will say the former manager of the offices. We promoted her to COO. She's phenomenal. Shannon is outstanding. A person and an employee. We gave her equity. So now we have the minds of, you can say, Andy, with the strategy and growth. For funding. Mark as CFO, and I'm the crazy guy, the crazy doctor, if you will, on top with the vision to expand the objective data. We're doing diagnostic testing and training the doctors, doing uniformity. It's a brand at the end of the day, and I know every patient is different, but the approach should be the same. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm bringing in. These doctors, they're great, but they were doing their own thing in different offices, and we want to improve care. We want to be the best. So, yeah.
Yeah. Are you making changes in the first 100 days, or are you just trying to figure out how to?
Little. Yeah, I don't want to pound people with a lot of changes.
Too many tweaks where you actually screw it
Yeah,
up and you don't know what you
yeah,
fixed or broke. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we have I'll call it the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's what I call my to-do list of things we're working on. We're going little by little, one thing at a time. We prioritize everything, and that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then your future plans for this, how you're familiar with the PE pyramid where it kind of jumps up. You got $15 million in EBITDA. It kind of jumps up in the multiples and the
Right.
arbitrage. How are you actually going after other very similar businesses or
Mhm.
completely different, but will they add to the multiples arbitrage?
Yes to both. So right now we're I would say 6.5 in EBITDA. Um, if I add just pain management to this clinics and don't open any other office, our EBITDA is gonna grow by 9 point something million. So we'll be in the 15 right away, just adding pain. We have goals of opening 2 more offices this year, one here and one in Reno. Um, and we're really looking at Texas to acquire another firm there in San Antonio, uh,
And you
even
got
Dallas.
LOIs, you've got people looking and down there
We
for,
don't have
yeah,
LOIs yet. We're talking.
yeah,
Yeah, and also growing across state lines because the thing is, these attorneys, they have offices in other states, but they love us, So if we've been told already, hey, if you open here, we're gonna fit you too. So all we have to do is just open doors,
Yeah.
So we're looking at those different situations. Like I told you, I'm looking at DME companies, supplement companies, manufacturing. That way I can white label my own and also sell to other doctors that I know and so on.
Yeah. And your strategy guy that came on, the capital guy, he said it, look, if we get this to 15 million, even above, it jumps up to 13x. And he knows who he could sell to with exit in mind. Okay.
Yeah.
He's got customers that would buy your enterprise.
Yeah, but I see this, John. I mean, do you know that some people buy and sell businesses? I don't know, a car wash or whatever else you can buy. I see this as a platform. I don't know if by year 5 or even 7, I'll get rid of it because I can just keep it. I mean, it runs by itself. It was run by
really cash flow. Guys, I've seen the quality of earnings from Tilly. It's very throwing off a lot of cash. Yeah.
So that's why if we fix what we're gonna fix, if we add what we're gonna add, and acquire the companies we're looking at, I don't see a reason why, because you can just retire.
Yeah.
And just sit down.
Run a little holding company.
Yeah.
Like a little Warren Buffett throwing off some cash, right?
Yeah. That's the ultimate plan on that.
Yeah.
We'll
and
see.
I got to go to you personally. How has this adventure changed Henry? I mean, like who were you were then, 2.5 years ago? Like, who do you think, who are you see yourself now?
That, I guess reality really hasn't set yet, I would say back then, before searching, I was very, very frustrated with my life. I was a police officer making decent money, back in 2008 until, I don't know, 2014. And then as a doctor, I was making less money than before.
That's odd.
I was like, my God, like, what did I get myself into? And, I'm getting older. That's not where I want to be. And I know I had skills that were not being used, in that capacity. But now I still think that reality hasn't set in for me,
Yeah.
I don't know what to say, but I'm the same person. I'm still humble, and I plan to stay that way. And I want to make, for example, one of my plans is to give the doctors of the offices phantom shares. So upon an exit, if we get there, and the key players, I may give equity, down the road, not just phantom. But I want to do things right. These people didn't have benefits. I want to. My board, I want to retire everybody. Like if you're with me, I want to retire you. That's the kind of person that I think I am.
Right.
So I don't know if that explains that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, it tells about a lot about your character right there. Like you want to share the wealth, what you're creating. People are along for the ride. Henry, guys, man, I really, really appreciate you sharing your story, and thank you for reconnecting with me about this whole process. Because I feel like I was like, a viewer from a distance. Like, hey, you asked me to help you find some money, you help me closing. A number of times we've moved back and forth, and then you did it, and congratulations. I am proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I want to add to that, John. Thank you for your teachings. I listen to you all the time on LinkedIn, and I started my LinkedIn profile from what Peña told me, but then you came along. I was like, hey, I got to listen to you because you need the in and outs of LinkedIn. And so you've been instrumental for this too. So if somebody's watching that still don't buy your stuff, they need to.
Thank you so much, Henry. I appreciate that, man. All right. Thanks for being on the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. We'll see you.
Hold on one second. Let me I gotta